Hiya. So I've been wanting to make this video for quite a while, but certain things have been making my whole process a bit more difficult than they should be. Firstly, school, because, you know, school. I love it. And then there's my PC, which just completely blue screens and freezes up on me every single time I play Destiny for longer than 20 minutes. So that's pretty fun. And then there's the worst of all. I have 6 gunsmith materials. 6! And my light is only like 1270, with the new season being out for like 2 weeks. I haven't had time to play this game at all. Anyway, let's get to the reason why you're actually here. So we have a Titan video this time. Now this is actually probably one of the first videos I actually have ever made for Titan, and I'm just gonna go back to it for a little bit and revisit it because there are some new mods that make it just a tad bit better. This build is already pretty good in itself, and it doesn't really need mods at all because you know, Riskrunner and the Skullfort just make up the entirety of it anyway. But why not mix it up with a few new mods as well as some old mods to give it some new flair? And to the people who already know about this whole setup, kudos. Don't give me flack for it, okay? I'm just showing people what there is in the game. So, first things first, the Insurmountable Skullfort. I promise you that's the first time I've said that. Now, what this actually does is kills with arc melee abilities trigger health regeneration and restore melee energy. Whenever you get a kill with your melee, it will automatically recharge your full melee back immediately. Doesn't matter how weak the enemy is, if you kill a random dreg just passing by and you decide you want to go murder him while he's on his jolly little way, then that will get you your full melee back. So running strength, which I kind of have unfortunately because of the armor that I have, is kind of useless. It's kind of redundant, and that goes for any melee mods as well, such as momentum transfer. There isn't really a point for it at all. Moving on to the subclass for striker and how the exotic Insurmountable Skullfort actually correlates to the build is that top tree striker has this nice little perk called aftershocks. Damaging enemies with your seismic strike recharges your grenade. So every single time you get a kill with your melee, you're going to be getting some grenade energy back. Another cool thing about top tree is this perk called magnitude. Gain an additional grenade charge, increases the duration of grenade effects. This just gets you an extra grenade so you can keep charging up your grenade with your melee kills. So we're pretty much going to have non-stop grenades. Moving on to the weapons, this is my shotgun in case you want to see it. In terms of weapons, they don't really matter at all. The only one that I would recommend using is the Riskrunner. If you want to use a different subclass, such as Void or Solar, then you can honestly switch Riskrunner for one of the other 2 weapons that kind of match it, such as Graviton Forfeit, such as Graviton Lance, or even Sunshot for that matter. It all depends on what your personal preferences is and what you just want to have fun with in the game. And for my heavy, I'm using a sword because having some sort of boss TBS is crucial in order to get some enemies killed in higher tier content. In my case, I switch between Falling Guillotine as well as my Tomorrow's Answer. Moving on to stats, I'm running 100 recovery, the most random stat imaginable because, I don't know, I don't want to die. You can switch 100 recovery for 100 resilience. In fact, I would recommend you do so. The only reason why I have 100 recovery is because my armor is extremely scuffed. Like I said earlier, I haven't really had time to play the game at all, and this is the armor that I was able to put together that I currently have that has the necessities that I want for the well mods, since you can't run well mods on older gear, and it has some decent stats as well. But if I were to give some recommendations as to what stats to run, resilience, recovery, and possibly even discipline. Those 3 stats are the stats that I would absolutely recommend. But if you only want 2, then I would go with recovery as well as resilience. Moving on to the mods, the main part of the build. First thing that I want to go over is the well mods, then I'll go over Charge of Light, and then finally the less important mods. So first things first, we're using 2 elemental well mods in this build. The first one is Elemental Armaments, which is weapon takedowns with a damage type that matches your subclass element have an escalating chance to spawn an elemental well. So once again, if you're using Arc, Riskrunner; if you're using Solar, Sunshot; if you're using Void, Graviton Lance. The only reason why I say these 3 weapons specifically is because they're all amazing for ad clear, and ad clear is what we're going for to spawn as many elemental wells as we possibly can. And the other well mod that we're using is Font of Wisdom. Picking up an elemental well that matches your subclass energy type grants you a temporary significant increase in your intellect, improving the recharge rate of your super. So we're using this just to get our super back a little more frequently than we normally would. If you want to have some fun with your weapons, however, a nice little mod to use is Font of Might, which increases your weapon damage whenever you pick up an elemental well. You can pair this up with High Energy Fire too if you want to further increase your weapon damage, and you can even run Bottom Tree Striker if you really want some more extra DPS for your weapons because of Frontal Assault, which increases your weapon damage whenever you strike an enemy with your melee ability. So it's pretty fun to mess around with if you want to try that out. Oh, that actually reminds me, I'm using one more well mod, and that is the Elemental Charge mod, which just gets us 2 stacks of Charge of Light whenever we pick up an elemental well. Moving on to the Charge of Light mods, we're using Reactive Pulse as well as Taking Charge. Taking Charge just gets us Charge of Light whenever we pick up an Orb of Light. We're using this because our Riskrunner generates a ton of Orbs of Power. Sorry, I said Orbs of Light. So it's extremely easy to get our Charge of Light stacks for our last mod that we're using, which is Reactive Pulse. else. Now what this does, while charged with light, when you take damage while surrounded by combatants, you emit a burst of damaging arc energy, consuming 1 stack of charged with light. So we're using this just to enhance our survivability, since we're not using heal thyself, which would be an amazing option to run if you want, since we're going to be damaging ourselves with our grenades anyway. So having heal thyself wouldn't be a bad option to run at all. I wanted to mix it up a bit though, since I've been using heal thyself for 2 videos now, so reactive pulse is what I'm running with. All right, the little side mods that I'm using as well as ashes to assets, which just gets us some extra super energy whenever we get some grenade kills, and we are also using bolstering detonation, which just grants us class ability energy whenever we cause damage with a grenade. All right, that is going to be the build. I am going to try to get a new PC as soon as possible because I want to play Destiny, because you know I like the game. So that might take a week or 2. So I'm sorry if the next video takes a while to come out as well. I'll try my best to record some stuff as much as I possibly can and grind this game out as much as I possibly can so I can make some better builds and get the new exotics to make videos on them, but it all depends on how much my PC will limit me in playing the game. All right, that's gonna be the video. I'm sorry if this Titan build wasn't what you wanted. I'll try my best to come up with another one. I really want to make a solar Titan build, but I don't have Wrath of Rasputin, and Wrath of Rasputin is what I really want to actually make a solar build with Titan, but Banshee is being a pain in the butt for me and is not dropping the mod. All right, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.